Some people wait over 10 years to hear back from the housing lottery, and I heard back in 1 month of me applying to affordable housing. So just know that anything can happen. Hello everyone, my name is Sammy. This is Life with Sammy. This is my first video ever, and I'm so excited to show you guys how I won my lottery affordable apartment in New York City. If you are a New Yorker, you're someone who's lived in New York, or you're a quote-unquote transplant, you've definitely heard of the New York Housing Lottery. I feel like that's pretty common knowledge within New York. If you don't know what the New York Housing Lottery is, then you're probably rich, or I don't fucking know. Basically, the New York Housing Lottery is a website that you can go on. Well, it's not just a website, but they do have a website called the Housing Connect. You can go on there and you can apply to affordable apartments. All of the New York Housing Lottery apartments are what we call income-based housing. So you can make anywhere from $100,000 and you can win a housing lottery apartment, because for your income, $1,000 rent is considered affordable housing for someone who makes over $100,000. And then it just trickles down from there. Like if you're making $20,000 a year, then your monthly rent, what's considered affordable for you, is going to look completely different than from someone who's making over $100,000. So I hope that makes sense. There's a lot of things that I did correctly, and there's a lot of intentional things that I did in order to get myself into a position where I was able to win an affordable apartment in New York. Not just any kind of New York, like I live in a great neighborhood in Brooklyn, and I'm very happy about that. So not only is it an affordable apartment, it's also in a safe area. So those two things were on my apartment wish list. So I'm happy I got both of those things, because a lot of people think that affordable housing is NYCHAT. NYCHAT is something else. NYCHAT is government housing. So affordable housing, government housing, two different things. Some people mix the two. Usually affordable housing is placed within apartment buildings. So like new development projects will often have a thing called the 80-20 rule, which is if they have 20% of their new apartments under affordable housing prices, then they get a huge tax cut, meaning the developers who funded to make that building. So it's kind of like a win-win for the city and also for the developers. So that's why you'll see a lot of luxury apartments on Housing Connect and places like that where they list affordable housing. There was a lot of people who said I don't know how true that is. Maybe you should just look into getting a roommate. And I was like, no, I don't want a roommate. I don't want a roommate. That's not what we're gonna do. I don't want to live in a shoebox and pay over $1,000. It's not gonna happen. Literally, I was so steadfast on what I wanted, and honestly, I don't care who said that was impossible. People are looking at me like I was crazy, and here I am. Not so crazy, am I? Exactly. So as I was saying, Housing Connect is one of the most popular places where you can find affordable housing listings, but I didn't even find my apartment via Housing Connect. I actually found it through another website. A big misconception is that they only post about housing lotteries on HousingConnect.com, but that is simply not true. There's so many individual apartment buildings who host their own housing lotteries, where you don't even have to go through Housing Connect. You can literally go on that direct apartment building website and apply there. My biggest recommendation to anybody who is really looking to find an affordable apartment: do not just limit yourself to Housing Connect apartments, or just trying to be selected from Housing Connect, because let me tell you, there's millions of people who are applying to there, and that's probably why it takes so long to get off a wait list. I wouldn't put all my eggs in that one basket, because the opportunity in this city is endless, especially when it comes to affordable housing. You just have to do your due diligence and proper research. I just want to give you guys a bit of a backstory on how I even ended up moving out. I've been in New York since 2021. I moved here when I was 19. I moved in originally with a roommate, and I lived there for about 3 years. So we were coming up on the end of that would have been our third lease. We were going to go our separate ways. In that time, I definitely knew that like I didn't know anything. I was literally in a panic because I just didn't know how I was gonna be able to afford New York rent all on my own. Like, just was a really stressful time for me. That would have been like the beginning of 2024, and then all of that like springtime of 2024 was when I started really looking for an apartment. I knew that I didn't want a roommate, and it was looking like I was gonna have to get another roommate at first. And I was looking on Facebook Marketplace, and I was on Bumble BFF, like trying to find a roommate so then we can start looking for apartments together. And all of those things were like falling completely through. And I feel like that was my sign number one. And in my spirit, like in my heart, I knew I did not want a roommate. Looking for a roommate, I felt like I was self-sabotaging. No, I was like, no, that's not even for me. Honestly, that's not even the lifestyle I want to claim. So like, we're not even gonna do it. And it's not to say that having roommates is bad. Like, that is a very common thing in New York to have roommates, but I'm not a common bitch. I knew that that last situation was gonna be the last time I ever lived with anybody else that isn't my spouse, honey, okay? Get into that. After I came to the realization that I'm not doing the roommate thing, like, okay, bitch, well, since you don't want a roommate, like, you looking at these prices on Street Easy and Zillow, and the math is not mathing. I knew immediately something was going to have to give. And I came across this video because God, the way that God works, and I'm going to get into that because God was a big part of why I even have this apartment. God, scripting, manifesting, all the things that definitely have a lot to offer on that specific subject. So we're going to get into that a little bit in this video, but definitely in some other videos. If you guys want to hear about that, please comment down below. Also, while you're at it, don't forget to give this video a like, okay? Because I want this information to be spread across the internet. So people in New York, especially in this political climate, truthfully, affordable housing should not be a lottery. It should be the standard. But unfortunately, in America, the greed is just disgusting here, and it's always been profit over people. So we got to act accordingly and use your resources, use what you got. That's a little side tangent. I came across this video online by this creator. Her name is Power in Pose. She posted a video about her NYC apartment tour, $900 living alone in Manhattan. I was like, T, what do you mean $900 living alone in Manhattan? So I clicked on her video, I watched her video, instantly subscribed, then came across another video from her, and it was this video titled God Provides. And she's basically talking about her journey on how she got her apartment. She had no income at the time. She mentioned that she found a list of emails and phone numbers of different affordable housing, like buildings within New York City, and it's a fat list. Like, I don't remember where I found the list from. I was looking in her comment section to see where she got the list because she didn't mention it in the video, and I was like, oh my god, where is this list that she speaks of? I was literally like scouring through the internet trying to find where I could possibly find that list, and I eventually found it, and I was literally looking for where I found it in this video, but I can't. If I end up finding that list, I will definitely give it to you guys, but I decided to print out the list. It's called a referral list. I'm sure it's somewhere on the internet. It looks like this. All of these affordable housing units in the city, and they have the phone number, they have the emails. I started emailing all of these different companies. You can see like all the highlighting I was doing. So that's literally what I did. I started by going through this fat list that I heard about through the video that I watched. I was emailing everyone like every single day for about a month. I had like a basic email template, just kind of a general like who I am, my AMI, just some other information about me that I felt like was necessary. And I can make more videos about like that, going in depth about like what I specifically said, heavy on the chat GPT, get into that. Probably emailed over like 300 apartment buildings, and sometimes they would get back to me, sometimes they wouldn't. But what I will tell you is that every time somebody emailed me back, I would email them back pretty much immediately. Got a lot of no's. Our waiting list is closed, or like we already have all of our apartments filled. So it was a lot of that. Sometimes people would send me back we don't currently have any apartments available, but you can be on our wait list. I would submit an application to be on the wait list. Don't know how long these wait lists are. You might think it's like a fat list, but sometimes they actually don't have that many people who are qualified. So by the time they get down to you, you might be the only one left. So I ended up only getting like a callback, so to speak. So like I was only asked to submit documents twice out of all of those 300 people. So sometimes that's all it takes. So at the time when I was applying, I was working as an intern. I knew that I would income qualify for these apartments because I'm getting paid like the way an intern would. I was like, okay, wait a minute. There could be something here, because that was also another thing. When I was looking at apartments that were regular market price, the amount that you have to make in order to even like sign on to a lease in New York, you have to make like 40 times the rent, sometimes 80 times the rent. And like I immediately knew, like, and I didn't have a guarantor, so I already knew that that was like not going to be a possibility for me. 80 times the rent? Like, girl, no. It's actually criminal when I tell you. I knew that wasn't going to work. First off, what you're going to want to do, and I'm going to get into the list, but you're also going to want to look up your AMI, which is your area minimum income. So based on where you live in New York, everyone has a AMI just compared to what everybody else is making around you in your neighborhood. So you want to see where you fall in that percentage for the amount of people in your household. So if you're single, look at what the median income for someone who is single in your area, so you can kind of get an idea of where you fall. There's a lot of housing opportunities for people in like the 40% range and below, and it's more common for people to be on the lower end of the minimum income percentages because America, that's how it is. But so I didn't even realize, like, this whole time I'm thinking like me being an intern and me making that amount of money was like a downfall, but like it ended up being my saving grace. So it's funny how God works. It's not a necessity that you have like pay stubs or like a simple like W-2 type of job, but it is definitely helpful when it comes to the submitting the documents, because I think it was just so much easier to give my proof of income with these like pay stubs from ADP, as opposed to like trying to like scram and scrum, depending on what you do. Like if you're a freelancer or something, this would be something so good for like people who are artists or just anything really creative. If that's your case, I would recommend that if you're about to start applying for affordable housing, that you get all your invoices, all of your documentation, written documentation of your income, because you're going to need a lot of that documentation. Like when I tell you a lot, like from the time that they reached out to me about submitting my documents to the time that I was approved and had the keys in my hand, a total of 4 months. So it was a very long and dreadful process, to be honest, but like I would do it again 1,000 times over if that meant I got my apartment. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of how exactly I found this specific apartment. So I was doing the emailing thing, and I believe an apartment got back to me, and they didn't even directly send me to this website, but in their email there was like a link to a website. It was called HousingConnect. I was like, HousingConnect, all I know about is HousingConnect, like what is this? They had an apartment listing for someplace in New York, and I was like, okay, why not? Like, I have nothing to lose. I'm just gonna apply and like go on about my day. I didn't really think too much about it. Next thing you know, like 3 days later, I hear back from them and they're like, we want you to submit some documents. I was like, at this point, I'd done all my research about the housing lottery. So I knew that like if you're asked to submit documents, like that's already a really good sign. very loudly state that in the email. Like, this does not mean that you got the apartment. We're just asking you for documents. I sent that document within 3 hours. That was literally around the time of my birthday. I don't know, like everything was just kind of falling into place before I even knew it. In that time, I was full of so much worry and anxiety because I just didn't know what was next. That really like was such a glimmer of hope when they reached back out to me to ask me for a document. I was like, oh my God, wait, did this actually just work? So yeah, I submitted my documents. A lot of like waiting long periods of time. What felt like 3 months of them not replying was really like 2 days of like unanswered emails. They ask you for everything but the kitchen sink. They go into depth about everything. So don't even try and like lie. It's a lot of time and energy when it comes to submitting documents and all of the communications back and forth. So you really have to be on their asses. Like that's one thing that I stress. Like I was so annoying throughout this whole process. Like, I just know my leasing coordinator hated to see me come in. Like, I was obnoxious every day. Like, if I didn't hear back for like 3 days, I'd email, hey, just checking. Hey, hey. Like, I was so fucking annoying. I know he was so sick of me, but he was so nice. Like, honestly, throughout that 4 months, my lease was ending in August. I heard back from them in April. That was the first time I got an email from them. My lease was going to end August 1st. So, as you can tell, as the months started approaching to like my lease ending, and I still didn't have a confirmed apartment, I was just a mess. I was like, oh my God, like I'm gonna have to move back home. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, I was just starting life. The idea of moving back home was so, oh my God, I can't believe this is really what it's come to, you know? But I actually did end up moving back home temporarily because I still wasn't officially approved for my apartment, so I couldn't move in, but my lease was still gonna end on August 1st. So I had to move out of my apartment on July 28th, and I moved back to my mom's house back in Maryland for about the whole month of August until they approved me around like the literally last like few days of August. I was approved, and then I moved into my apartment September 1st. So it was not easy. I put my all my stuff into a storage that was like 6 minutes away from my apartment because I just had that much faith that it was going to happen. Throughout this whole process, even though it's so long, there's still no guarantee that you have it until they literally say, here are your keys, here's your lease. How many months, how many years do you want it? Like all that stuff. Another big part that I wanted to get into slightly in this video is the scripting and the manifesting aspect of this. It really expedited the process of me getting my apartment, and I feel like it wasn't the only reason because I was also putting action behind the words that I was scripting and the intentions that I was manifesting. I was literally scripting every single day, word for word, bar for bar, everything that I have right now in this apartment. I wrote that down every single day, and I would say that to myself. And I would talk about like my furniture. I live in a well-designed home. Like I love the fact that I live alone. I would talk about a day in the life of what it was like living alone in my New York City apartment. It honestly had no choice but to manifest. And whatever timing that God felt was right for me, God was teaching me so much about patience. Like it was such a good learning experience because like I've never been tested so much in my life. Like to not know about having a job and an apartment is absolutely too fucking much for anybody to take, let alone little old me. Like I'm only but 22. Like this feels no different than when I was writing it because I believed it just as much as I did then as I do now, and that I'm here and I'm living in it. And every day I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, like I literally in my dream apartment. Like it's actually insane. But another thing that I did was I designed my apartment before I even was approved for anything. Literally was designing my bedroom, I was designing my living room, I was designing everything. Like when you make plans for things before you have them on a physical level, you're basically telling the universe and God that you are ready to receive what it is that you're asking for. And you're not only ready to have those things, but you also have a plan for what you're asking for. And I feel like that is so powerful in pulling the things and attracting the things that you want, because when you're that intentional about it, like it has no choice but to come to you, because like where else is it gonna go? Like it's this energy that is needs to go somewhere. It's gonna go where it's wanted, where it's accepted, where there's intention for it. So when you do things like that, detailed plans for the future and like bar for bar, that shit is so powerful. So it was just like a lot of impediments and roadblocks that were happening, like and in the time I was just like, oh my god, like this is the worst. I just needed something to really just like hold on to. And in that whole process, I think I'm especially grateful for the fact that I had to wait so long for what I wanted, and it was almost being like dangled in my face a little bit. I kind of really love that because my faith grew so much stronger, and like my relationship with God grew so much stronger. And like I feel like now that I'm sitting here today, I've I've never had such a close relationship with God ever in my life, and I feel like I can really like say that with my whole entire chest. Me and God have a really great relationship, and like not just because he gave me something that I want, because God gives me things that I desire all the time. And he's a ever giving God, because I don't love God just because he gives me what I want, but truly because that is someone that I can go to and like literally give my problems to, and also put all of my trust and all of my worries onto him. And I just know that he has it. So yeah, now I am living in my dream apartment. If you told me this 1 year ago that I would be here, I'd be like, bitch, does that even exist? Like $600 a month? Like, even me then, I would have been like, cunt, like, period, as we should. Like, for real, honestly, I feel like that would be my reaction. I'd be like, period. You can have everything you want. Like, there's no limits to what you can do. You are not your conditions. You create your conditions. Like, I am not different from any of you watching this video. Like when I was watching the video that I was telling you guys about from Power in Prose, I was just like the way you guys are watching this right now. I was like, how on earth did she do that? Like, how did she get so lucky? Like, oh my god, like this is like I don't know if this will happen for me. Like, I hope so, but I don't know. I was feeling that way too, and like here I am. Y'all see the pattern? Like, just in case y'all don't believe me, I need y'all to watch this video, give it a like, comment down below, and then I need you to go to watch her video, come back to this video and tell me that you watched it. God provides, and like if you believe it, you can have it. I have so many gems that I am wanting to give you guys. I'll definitely make more videos on this in the future. Hopefully I can do some Q&As. Definitely drop down in the comments below any questions you may have, because again, everybody deserves affordable housing. This shouldn't be some lottery thing. This is human right. This is something that everybody should have access to. So any way that I can help, I'm happy to do so. So yeah, that's my story. I hope this video wasn't too long. I have been posting a lot of shorts about the decor of my apartment, so please check out my shorts. Definitely subscribe to me. Again, this is Life with Sammy, and I am so excited to share my life with you guys, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye!